And as well, the Reverend Dr. Tony Campollo. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
How are things, man? Good to be right on. It's you know, the idea of the divide with people and the way they believe spiritually has always been there. But there seems to be such an interesting divide now within the Christian community.
Yes.
And politics has played a major part in that.
Well, in the United States, more than in Canada. In the United States, evangelicals, like 80%, more than 80%, voted for George Bush. And that's not a bad thing. What is the bad thing is there's been a tendency among many evangelicals to suggest that if you're not in the Republican Party, that somehow you don't walk with God, that somehow you're... And I think to make Jesus either a Republican or a Democrat, to tie Jesus up with a political party, is blasphemy, it's wrong, it's distorting, and it gives to any political party arrogance. We're the God party, you know?
But they do it by hinging on two issues.
Yeah.
It's two issues. I know there's a whole, it's far more complex than that, but it isn't really. It's abortion and it's gay rights.
You got it. And they're the two issues that have been the hot button issues that in fact have been pushed by the evangelical community to the exclusion of a host of other issues. And we would point out to you that while these two issues do deserve significant attention, the fact is, there are 2,000 verses of Scripture that talk about caring for the poor. And I don't care what else you're into. If you ignore what the Bible is really about, helping poor and oppressed people, you've missed the message of Jesus.
So what happened then? How'd that happen?
Well, politicians learn how to manipulate populations, and they learn how to stir emotions, and abortion is an emotional issue, and it's emotional with me. I'm a pro-life person, but to focus on that and say this is what politics is all about, and this is a defining issue, is to miss the point. I contend that we got to get together. I see you got the white band on with Bono, and here's a guy who is a rock singer who has done more to articulate what Christianity is really about than most of we preachers. In fact, he says to be Christian is to commit to the poor, to the oppressed. The only description that Jesus gives of Judgment Day is how we treated the poor. On that day, he's not going to ask you theological questions. He's going to, you know, it's not going to be virgin birth. Strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. You know, it's not going to be. Yeah,
I'm decided.
It's going to be. Here's what it's going to be. 25th chapter of Matthew. I was hungry. Did you feed me? I was naked. Did you clothe me? I was sick. Did you care for me? I was an alien. Did you take me in? What you failed to do to the least of these, you failed to do it to me, because I'm not up in the sky somewhere. I'm waiting to be loved in people who hurt. And as you relate to people who hurt, you're relating to me. There is no Christianity that does not tie us up with the poor and the oppressed of the world.
Now, you advised a president.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Two-term, very popular president when he was the president.
Yeah.
Right? You say those sorts of things to him?
Of course.
What was his response?
Well, I think that Bill Clinton is a guy who has tried to respond to the poor and the oppressed, even now with his global initiative. He's doing much to attack the AIDS crisis in Africa. He's really raising literally billions of dollars to help poor people around the world. When Katrina struck, and while the government was fumbling around, he was out there raising millions of dollars for the Katrina people. I mean, here's a guy who says, hey, I don't know what else I'm about, and I know everybody knows my shortcomings, but this is one of the things that I want to say loud and clear, that as an ex-president, I am committed to help the poor of the world.
But that's the thing, and I've seen it with George Bush Sr., Herbert Walker Bush, and also with Bill Clinton. They seem to do more when they're not president than they do when they are president, and I wonder, is it just impossible when you're in president to be the president to actually live by, if you're, because I saw Bill Clinton when he was going through the whole scandal, walking around holding the Bible, going to church, and at a certain point it started to seem like a dog and pony show when you saw actions.
Yeah. Well, it does have to be noted that he was the guy that started the cancellation of third world debts, which the Bono thing is really strong about. I mean, if you live in a country like Ecuador and you pay $1 taxes, 60 cents out of that dollar doesn't buy health, doesn't buy education, doesn't buy infrastructure.
It pays off debt.
It doesn't even do that. It pays interest. Yeah. That's all. In Africa, 40 cents out of every dollar gets spent on servicing the debt. These countries will never get out of poverty if, in fact, we don't cancel the debt. I think that Clinton did a good job in getting that going.
You were with him during the Monica Lewinsky thing. We joked off the top about that. What was that? What kind of counsel does he come to you for?
Well, I can't tell you about what went on in the counseling thing because that would be wrong. I can say this, that he did his best to make things right. That's all I can say. And he held his family together, and his family held him together, and they survived that incredible ordeal. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that.
Well, I'm sure as a reverend, that's not the first time you've had to deal with that. It was just perhaps the most high profile.
Yes, it was the most hope, and it was hard because certain evangelicals are so anti the Democratic Party and so anti-Clinton that the very fact that I reached out to this man at a time in need meant that I was under severe attack from one end of the country to the other. They didn't really understand that to be Christian is to reach out to people who hurt, whether they're people that you find on Young Street who are homeless, or whether they're the President of the United States. To be Christian is to be a friend to the person who needs a friend.
What were they talking about with Jesus? He hung around with the tax collector, right?
That's right.
And the physician goes to the people
they wouldn't have liked who he hung around with, would he? I mean, he was always partying. You know what they said about him? They said, you're supposed to be a godly man. You're a wine bibber and a glutton. Every time we turn around, you're partying, and you don't even care who you party with. Yeah. What a wonderful thing to say.
To Jesus.
I mean, he sounds like your kind of guy, doesn't he?
Well,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, you look like
part of it.
You look like a party boy. I mean, let's face it, George. Okay?
Yeah, but I'm not going to apologize for what I do. That's the problem.
Well, he didn't apologize either. He thought it was great. He said, if you don't understand that these people are more open to the message of love and forgiveness that I'm preaching than those religious people down there at the temple, you've missed what I'm all about.
But you know what it is? In the Bill Clinton thing, it stems back to this word morality, and you hear the difference with you have social conservatives. Like when you go through your book here, and the Red Letter Christians, the idea of Jesus' word and what you're talking about with helping the poor, that's a social code. In Canada, they had it with an elected official, a minister named Tommy Douglas. But morality seems to be the flashpoint. We talked about it with abortion and homosexuality, and it's as if the right wing, for better or for worse, own that word now.
They don't own the word morality. And the truth is that poverty and elimination of poverty is a moral concern. The environment is a moral issue.
So they own the word pious.
Yeah, I like the word pious because they, in fact, take certain things. You know, when I was growing up, I guess from what I hear, you grew up in the same kind of environment I did. You know, smoke or dance or chew or go with girls who do. You know, you live this very, very...
What do you mean in past tense?
Yeah. Well, you know, you don't look with those rings on your ear. I mean, that looks pretty ungodly. I just want to say that to you right now.
Do you know how many pastors have said that to me over the years?
Well, yeah, woe unto you, woe unto you. Yeah, yeah. I saw a cartoon the other day with Jesus standing on the steps of a church and a guy with all these, rings, and Jesus is saying, of course I accept people with pierced bodies. You know, a great line, a great line. In reality, whosoever will may come. But, the idea is that we often reduce Christianity to a lot of little puny rules and regulations. And Jesus once said, woe unto you who face all these little things and miss the weightier teachings of the law. For instance, Jesus said, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. I don't see how you can believe in capital punishment and believe in that. Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers.
Well, they'll say eye for an eye, right? And that's the dilemma with the Bible.
And here's what Jesus said. Get to the red letters. Jesus said, you have heard of old an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Yeah. But I give you a new commandment. And I don't want to be nasty, but when he says it's a new commandment, I think he means it's a new commandment. And the new commandment is overcome evil with good, love those who hurt you, overcome evil with good deeds. If your enemy hungers, feed him. If he's naked, clothe him. If he's sick, care for him. It's radical stuff. But until we start living the way Jesus has called us to live, we ought not to call ourselves followers of Jesus.
That's why they don't like Jesus, because he sounds like a hippie. It's nice to see you, man.
God bless you, man. God bless you.
Reverend Dr. Tony Campollo on the program. Letters to a Young Evangelical, that's the name of his brand new book. It's great to have you on the show. Lots more to come, including this.